time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and gone. Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good. Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Foley three. Good. Foley ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Good. Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. And not only is it game day eve, it's actually game day for Oregon women's basketball and Oregon men's basketball. Terry Johns has a pregame show coming up. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, we're basically going to be doing a double pregame show because we've got football, we've got men's basketball tonight at 5:30, and we've got women's basketball looking to defend their conference title for the 4th straight year when they face Colorado here coming up at 2 o'clock on Pac-12 Network. And Terry Johns has the call across the Oregon Sports Network on your various streaming service of choice, whether it be TuneIn, the GoDucks Game Day app, goducks.com/live audio, or if you're listening on KUGN 590 around here in the Eugene area, wherever you're tuning in, thanks for joining us. So we've got a lot to talk about on Duck Insider today. We're going to hear from Todd McKim. That's right, the former Duck. I can kind of say that. Yeah. And I'll give him a hard time, as you'll hear coming up in just a moment. We're going to hear from Todd McKim. Also, Austin Fallio. We haven't gotten to his interview from earlier this week. We have that for you coming up. And a full preview of Oregon men's basketball against Seton Hall. The good news is that LJ Figueroa is set to go for the Ducks. He will play for Oregon tonight. I did talk to Dane Allman earlier for our Toyota Coaches Corner that you will hear coming up tonight on the Coors Light pregame show beginning at 5:30. And the Oregon men's basketball head coach said that they're not going to start LJ Figueroa tonight, but he's not going to hesitate to get him in the game. He also called him a really good player. LJ Figueroa being back, he's a new addition for the Ducks tonight against the Seton Hall Pirates. And it's a little different than a normal addition where it's not like he transferred in and hasn't been practicing with Oregon. The Ducks know what sort of a player he is. So we have more on that coming up. And also joining us, well, it's actually going to be twofold. Yeah, it's going to be twofold because Mike Jorgensen is here. You can follow him on Twitter at Jorgie_Mike. He has been in the broadcast booth for Oregon football for 30-plus years now. And Mike Jorgensen is here. Jerry Allen is not. Jerry is not going to be doing his picks today. We have gotten permission to make picks for him. So, how do we do this? And now I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe Scott Phillips is going to jump in instead. We'll have to figure that out. But we have permission to do picks, our North Fork Public House picks in place of Jerry. So, Jorgie, how's your Jerry Allen impression these days?
Well, I mean, I've prepared myself, if that's what you mean. I have prepared myself. And I figured I would do my Jerry Allen impression after we have made all of our picks.
Oh. And
then provide my commentary and some cheap shots and other things like that. So.
Okay. All right. I think we're all prepared for that. There's been a couple folks over the years that have said they always got to take their their ibuprofen or their aspirin or whatever before a Friday edition of Duck Insider. Dave was wondering, when will we hear about the next transfer's eligibility? So I'll answer that question real quick. Dave, I think you're talking about Aaron Estrada. His situation was a little bit different, as Coach Altman alluded to, not as much of a immediate transfer eligibility type thing as LJ Figueroa. But you've seen the same reports that I have, that the Ducks are maybe, like a lot of other schools, going to have the NCAA say, all right, you know what, everybody's just eligible. We're going to make every transfer eligible. Who knows what's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. So we don't really know exactly when we'll have an answer on that. And Todd McKim, that is old school Ducks. 2005 was when Todd went down to Cal. So it's been 15 years, if you can believe it.
That's crazy.
Georgie, do you have any funny Todd McKim stories first?
Well, I'd have to think back on that. I mean, what was fun is when I was in college and even out of college, played a lot of city league basketball. He was a heck of a basketball player. I mean, athlete, frankly, got after it. And obviously the local sports guy that everybody knew and still knows when you mention his name type of situation. But I can remember, and I'd have to give some credit to him, because as he became more and more involved with Prime Sports Northwest, it opened the door for me to slide right in behind him when he was working for Jerry. And unfortunately, it's never been quite the quality it was before I arrived. Todd's a good man and a wine snob now, so that's okay.
He is. He is a wine snob. We're going to talk about that with Todd coming up. All right, we got our North Fork Public House Pac-12 picks coming up. We'll have a little bit of fun. But, Georgie, let's talk a little bit about this matchup, Oregon and Cal. Look, it's no secret that Oregon hasn't stopped the run as well as the Ducks would like. And it sure looks like Cal's running the ball a heck of a lot better than they were to start the season. That's probably the matchup to watch for me.
Yeah, I think at the line of scrimmage, both sides, and I probably say that too much, but frankly, that's where Cal is most vulnerable too, is on the ground. And Oregon's hoping to take advantage of that. And I wouldn't doubt it if Cal lines up a double tight end with a fullback and one of their big tailbacks, and whether it's the young guy, the young freshman who went over 100 last week, or whether it's Christopher Brown, the big tailback that we've seen before. But it's going to be at the line of scrimmage. And I know Oregon's challenged themselves to be better at the line of scrimmage, and they have been in particular the last 2 weeks with UCLA and with Oregon State.
Hey, Georgie, we're going to hear the interview with Austin Fallio coming up on the show just a little bit, but I have heard it already, so I'm going to spoil it for some people. I'm sorry. He talked a little bit about getting off blocks and just how important that was at the line of scrimmage. Is that one of the biggest things that you see with Oregon's defensive line, is just getting off blocks to create a little bit of havoc in the backfield?
Yeah, I mean, at times when they're not being held, I mean, you can go back to that very first play against the Beavers, and I'll tip my cap to Oregon State. They played a heck of a game to win that one, and deserve based on how they played. But if you look at the very first play, Jordan Scott is going to get off a block and make a play, and his arm disappears back into the pile. And so there's and that happens on every play. You could call it on every single play. So no ifs, ands, or buts, but when guys get off of blocks to make plays, it certainly makes it a lot easier on the linebackers to make plays, because if they're the slightest out of position and one of the defensive linemen hasn't disengaged to be able to make the tackle, then they're into the secondary, and we saw what Jamar Jefferson can do when he gets into the secondary. Yeah,
I think that Jamar Jefferson is certainly going to be a finalist for the Doak Walker, at least in my mind. He's proven that over the years. And, Georgie, on the other side, in games where C.J. Verdell rushes for over 100 yards, the Ducks are 9-1. And when he gets nicked up, it certainly changes the offense for the Ducks.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he's explosive, and he's strong. And he's a guy who at times, as you know as well as I do, when we'd love to see him maybe make a move and run around him, he's going to beeline and run right over the top of you. And he gets a lot of yards doing that too. He's a guy that runs for 4 and makes 40 a lot of times. When you're running for 40, a lot of times all you make is 4. I like the way he runs because he runs hard. And boy, when you can have the complement of he and Travis Dye in the backfield at the same time with the 1-2 punch that they provide, let alone out of the backfield as receivers, a healthy C.J. Verdell certainly will help, and I hope to see him doing that.
Travis Dye leading all FBS running backs with 10.7 yards per touch. And so I don't want to say, like, oh, this is all about C.J. Verdell. Cyrus Bibiliko, very capable. We've heard great things about Sean Dollars. But with Travis Dye, Georgie, it's a different type of running back. It's a different type of offense with him in there.
Yeah, and he's sneaky. I guess that's about the only word I've been able to find that I've been able to put to him and go, he's not a power back, even though sometimes he runs unbelievably strong. He's not a guy like DeAnthony Thomas where you go, whoa, look how fast. And yet he runs away from people, and he looks like he's a half set faster this year. He's just sneaky in what he does, has great instincts when he gets the ball in his hands. I love the way the guy plays. Again, so when you get that 1-2 complement of those two guys playing at a really high level, or even at a a good level and complement each other, that offense is going to be tough to stop, and let alone scoring close to 40 points a game anyway.
It's been interesting hearing Coach Cristobal talk this week, Jorgie, about how, the Ducks are running somewhere in the 60s in plays per game. They wanted to be closer to 80s. But as Coach Moorhead has talked about, he won't sacrifice more plays to give up explosive plays, right? Like there's got to be a delicate balance there, which leads me to turnovers have been the biggest issue for this Oregon offense. Turnovers are probably going to be a big key in this game.
Well, it's exactly the opposite of last year. Obviously, Oregon was huge in the plus column. This year, it's in the minus column. And, another possession or two is another 10, 12 plays that get you in the upper 70s just like that. And, yeah, you're never going to apologize for a two-play, 75-yard drive in 50 seconds. I'll take that every day. But I also know what they want to establish is 75 to 80 plays. Number one, it takes a lot of pressure off the defense. Number two, it tires out of the opposing defense. So, if they can get that up there and still continue to score 40. I don't know what the best case scenario is, Joey. You're scoring almost 39 points a game, which generally is enough to win 9 out of 10 games, usually type of situation. But, you want to have it all. You want to make sure that everybody performs the way they should. I'd love to see 75 to 80 plays too, but I'll take 40 points every time.
Though that brings up an interesting point. Like I'm a numbers guy. I guess that's my baseball background. I come at it from the statistics maybe more than I should. But I think about, the fact that Oregon is 3-1 but is negative in turnover margin is a bit of a statistical anomaly in Pac-12 games. That shows you just how much they've been scoring. But you don't want every game to be a shootout, right, Jorgie?
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You want your defense to start to shore things up a little bit while the offense continues to perform like they are. And, from time to time, you're going to turn the ball over. Tyler Shuck really is a young quarterback in his career of games played. 4 games, and if you're only playing 65, 70 plays a game, that's not a whole lot of plays in a career, to be able to kind of put the body of work together. But, well, I'll tell you what, when you can cut those down, everybody I've talked to this week, Joey, has said the exact same thing as you. 3-1 and be -5 or -6 or whatever the number is, and still be 3-1 is an anomaly by all means.
How about the fact that the Ducks will get maybe a few guys back on offense? We've heard Coach talk about it with Micah Pittman. We don't know exactly what the tight end depth is going to look like. We're hopeful that they're going to have a few more guys available because we saw how effective Hunter Kampmoyer was. We've seen how effective DJ Johnson has been. The offense getting some weapons back would help, right?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Again, you look at guys like Devin Williams and others that have stepped up in place of, and that certainly has helped out the process. But anytime you can add more to the table, more guys that are really high-end players that, you look like you look at a Cal defensive secondary led by Cameron Bynum, who's kind of a shutdown corner on one side. You want to be able to overload it every place else. We saw that with Washington State, okay? When they've got 4 quality receivers on the field, it's tough to have 4 quality DBs match up against them. And at times, the Cougs took advantage. That's exactly what you want to do by getting a guy like Pittman back.
Do you anticipate more 2 tight end sets with this now ever-evolving Coach Moorhead offense? And would it help the Ducks against this Cal pretty good secondary?
Well, I think it's going to help just from a standpoint of the matchups you get when you put 2 tight ends in the game. You don't tend to get a corner guarding a tight end. They tend to stay on the outside, and you can dictate what you do with Cam Bynum as to who he's going to cover and then get the matchups on the inside with the tight ends. The more athletic tight ends that you have, the more pressure to me that puts on a defense, let alone if they can block with the running game that Oregon has. So I'd like to see Oregon get a lot more healthy at that position than they have been.
There's only a few connections to Oregon on this Cal coaching staff.
You think?
It really is. It's funny. You're going to hear coming up when we talk to Todd McKim. He described it as Oregon South in some ways. And it's kind of cool, though, Jorgie, isn't it, to see guys like that have success? So you can root for them on any day except for tomorrow.
Yeah. You know that they're competitors. They want to win regardless of their Oregon roots. But there's a lot of guys down there. I was talking to Mike Pawlowski last night, the color analyst for Cal, and we were talking about that exact same subject. And that is, you look all the way from the head coach to the offensive coordinator to the linebackers coach and on down. And it's been that way, over the last few years. They've had a nice sprinkling of guys that either started their career here or played here as players. So pretty neat to see. But, boy, when the ball kicks off, green and yellow goes out the door for those guys.
That's right. And one of those guys is Valentino Del Toso, who was a former Duck on the offensive line, has played a ton for Cal, but has been banged up, and we're still waiting and seeing if he and then the 2 offensive tackles for Cal are going to be able to go in this game coming up at 4 o'clock tomorrow. We'll have a 2 o'clock pregame show and a ESPN televised game as well. We got a couple basketball games that we're going to talk about too. And Jorgie's got to make Pac-12 picks. He's going to do his best Jerry Allen impersonation. That was a good impersonation. That was pretty good. Just laugh at the question. That's Jerry.
I won't sound like him when I get ready to do it, but I'm not doing it now. I'm not doing it until our picks are over.
Okay. North Fork Public House picks are coming up. It is Duck Insider on a Friday. Get your ibuprofen. Mike Jorgensen's joining us on the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. It's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're back inside the Country Financial Studio right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We got our North Fork Public House picks coming up every Friday. I wish that Jorgie and I were live at North Fork Public House every Friday. Get the fried chicken, get some takeout. North Fork Public House open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. And knowing Mike Jorgensen, he'd probably have a nice glass of wine while he made picks as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I really thought I'd get more out of him for that, but here
No,
we are.
I was just getting ready to say that's such a good place. That is such a good place. It's too bad that, things have been cut down so much, but man, you can still get food to go, and it is really, really good.
It is. It's very good. So to our friends at North Fork Public House, thanks for your support of our picks, even though a lot of our fans out there are probably like, man, just give me the ibuprofen by the time we get through it. But now that there's only 2 of us here today, maybe we get through it with a little bit less headache. So, all right, I've got the coin. The coin is not in first place. I just want everybody to be aware of that. But, Jorgie, this is important. This is a big week because, one, Jerry Allen went 3-1 last week. So did one Mike Jorgensen. So did one Joey Mack. We had all the same picks. It was completely a waste of a week. There was nothing fun that happened. But, Jorgie, you'll be happy to know that the coin went 0-4.
Yes.
It's a good sign for all of us that we can still beat a 50-50 odds with a coin. So Jerry has 9 correct picks. Jorgie has 8. I have 7. And the coin has 3. That means that Jerry Allen is going first this week. Again, we've been given permission to make picks. And, Jorgie, I think that we can form a quorum right now. And the coin is here as well. Obviously, the coin will agree with everything I say. Jorgie, should we have just Scott Phillips step in and make picks? And you can still do your Jerry Allen impression. Yeah. Okay, so Scott's making picks. Scott, you're Jerry today.
All right, what game are we on?
That's a great question. Did you do any of your research heading into it?
I did as much research as Jerry Allen would
do. All right. Scott Phillips is going to pick for...
Have you showered at some time in the last 4 days? Because usually Jerry doesn't shower for 4 to 5 days leading up to the pick, so I just thought I'd ask Scott.
4 days ago is enough for
me.
It's
4
within
days
the window,
ago.
right?
All right. Okay,
Margin of error.
Here we are. Then the first game on the docket is the 1 o'clock Fox game with 1-2 Stanford visiting Washington, the 22nd ranked team in the country, Washington at 3-0. Huskies are favored in this game. Looks to be a low-scoring affair with Dylan Morris leading the passing attack for Washington. Scott Phillips.
I don't see Stanford coming in there and doing anything. I'm going Huskies. I don't like them, but I'm going to pick them.
I don't like them, but that was pretty good. All right, Jorgie, what do you think?
Well, Jerry, I can see you've done a lot of research there to give us a lot of really good inside information in your picks. Appreciate that. I don't know what you've been doing other than taking naps all day, but thanks, Jerry. Listen, I think Washington, I'll tell you, after falling behind 21-0 last week, which I thought Utah had them done, over with, they found a way to win, found a way to come back and get things done. I think they're beginning to believe and get a little better in all phases of the game. They're maybe not the top Washington team that we've seen in the past, but they're steadily getting there, and they're headed in the right direction. Stanford coming off a big victory over Cal with the blocked extra point at the end of the game. I mean, they're still shaking their head down in Berkeley on that one. But Stanford's going to come in, and I think is playing some pretty good football, but just not good enough to be able to beat the Huskies. The Huskies are on a roll. I think they continue to be on a roll before they come to Eugene.
I agree with you 100%. I'm taking the Huskies here as well. And how about the fact that Washington's going to play its 4th straight home game?
Yeah, that's not fair.
That's wild.
That's not fair.
That's just the way that things have gone, though. Remember, this game was supposed to be played. This one was scheduled to be played, I think, actually at Washington, wasn't it? Yes. This one was originally set to be played at Washington, but Stanford now is going to be on the road with everything that's going on, and it's just a wild year. I think that Washington is a solid team. I don't think a great team. And you look at the numbers, they're not scoring a ridiculous amount, but their defense is just solid enough. I think Washington gets the win because, frankly, if it wasn't for Cal not being able to play special teams, they probably win that game. There's actually been a few different games where Cal could probably say that about their special teams play. Yeah, I'm gonna take Washington as well. So the coin flip. Oh, that was a good coin flip.
Ooh.
Tails.
That's Stanford.
That's Stanford. That's the road team. That's a good pick there by the coin.
I do like the fact that you bring up their defense because their defense has played rock solid every single game.
Yeah, which honestly, I mean, we all kind of expected, I feel like, Washington to have a good defense, especially with the defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake taking over as the head coach. Mm-hmm. But they did lose a lot of players, and they're still pretty darn good. Ducks are going to have to prepare for them for sure. The 4 o'clock game on FS1, 3-0 Colorado. Run, Ralphie, run, is at the 0-3 Arizona Wildcats. It's in Tucson, set to be 71 degrees at kickoff. That's cold for Arizona. Sam Neuer has been a really cool story, Jerry.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from Arizona this year that's going to make me...
I can barely hear you. You have to talk louder. You have to be more like Jerry.
Okay. I haven't seen anything from Arizona this year to make me believe that they're going to win this week.
Jorgie, can you hear anything he's saying?
I did that time.
Okay, good.
Do you agree with me?
Well, I thought they looked pretty good against USC to start the season, and in fact, probably should have won that game. But they
didn't win, Jorgie.
Last against Washington, they got manhandled in that game.
Run, Ralphie, run. That's Jerry's pick. Let's go, Buffs.
Jorgie, what do you think?
Jerry, that's creative. That's a way more creative than you usually are with the Run, Ralphie, run. I can tell you that. So I'm going run, Ralphie, run, just to copy Jerry. I mean, that's as good as it comes right there. Run, Ralphie, run. And Sam Neuer. Go Sam Neuer.
So
I think that Sam Neuer is a cool story. I'm going to go with Colorado as well. But I think this is a little bit of a test for Colorado. Going on the road, like Jorgie mentioned, Arizona has played at times some good football. I think Colorado's the more complete team, but I still, for whatever reason, just don't 100% trust them yet. You know, like they haven't earned that level of consistency yet, so hopefully they're able to do it. But I'm going to take Colorado as well. I like the Buffs. And let's see. Coin flip. That's heads. That's the home team in Arizona. Boy, the coin is just going opposite. So what really, you know what's going to happen is all of these games are going to go the way of the coin, and that would just be par for the course, wouldn't it? Up next on the docket is the 7:30 game on ESPN. That would be Oregon State, 2-2, coming off of a resounding victory. I think we can all agree that's probably a huge momentum-building win for that squad. But they got to go to Utah. Utah's a bit of a surprise for me, being 0-2. I understand that they've had their problems with practicing, Jorgie, and availability of players, but I'm a little surprised that Utah is 0-2. I'm also a little bit surprised that odds makers have this game with Utah favored by over 11 points.
Ooh, what do they know?
Scott Phillips, who is impersonating Jerry Allen today with the first pick.
I'm going to go ahead and defer. Because I haven't used my defer, so I'm going to toss it over to Jorgie there.
I really thought you'd defer on UCLA ASU.
Oh, no, not that one. This one. I'm going to defer on the Beavers. I want to hear what Jorgie has to say about the Beavers.
So Jorgie's got to pick the Beaver game first. That's an interesting strategy here, Cotton.
Man.
See if it pays off.
His mind is like a steel trap, isn't it? Really. It's just I couldn't believe he remembered that he had the right to defer. Whatever. Ice cream bars, defers, whatever it might be. So, okay, well, let's see. I think I'm going to take the Utah Utes. I think part of that, unfortunately, for Oregon State is, and probably most people before the season started never thought they would say this, but with Tristan Gebbia getting better and better each week and just managing the games as well as he has, having a game manager at Utah that's played some football in a situation like that, with having a good offensive line and a really good running back, I think the Beavers can pull it off, and very confident. I think without Gebbia, there's going to be some question marks that are going to come up in their mind, particularly offensively. And for Utah, they're still good on defense. They still are really good on defense. It's just a matter of whether they can manufacture some points against Oregon State, and I think they can.
Yeah, I think that if Gebbia was healthy, I would pick the Beavers. I actually think I would, because you've got a stout run defense for Utah that could slow down Jefferson, but he's shown that he can run against good defenses.
Right, yeah.
I think that Gebbia is the difference, and that's why I'm gonna pick Utah. I really, it's unfortunate for Gebbia. I feel for that young man.
Yeah.
I think that they could have gone on a little bit of a run here, but I'm going to take Utah as well.
It's a confident group, though, Joey. It's a confident group.
That's right.
Tell you.
That's
right. They believe right now.
You never know. Oh, that was a terrible flip. I rule for a reflip.
Yeah, you got to redo that.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Jorgie can really see the flips, but okay, that's heads. That's the home team in Utah. Okay, so you're going to take Utah now?
Yeah, I can't pick the Beavers. I'm the voice of the Ducks. I can't pick Beavers at all for any reason.
That's good. That's pretty good. All right. Hey, quick timeout if we could, Jorgie. Can you hang out for another few minutes? I know you actually have a day job, so. Okay, he says we can. We're doing it before he changes his mind. Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We continue with our North Fork Public House picks after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
All it takes is one drop to make a wave. One beat to inspire a track. One spark to get creativity flowing. With every drop, Life Water refreshes your mind and restores your body. Purified water, pH balanced with electrolytes for taste. Designed with original works of art on every bottle. Let us be your source of inspiration. Life Water, the feel-good water.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union in the Country Financial Studio. A couple quick picks to make because we got Todd McKim waiting in the wings for us. We continue with our North Fork Public House picks. And, well, Jerry Allen has to go next, who was played by Scott Phillips today. UCLA, Arizona State, 7:30 on Fox Sports 1. That's a tough pick.
It's a tough pick, but it's at USC.
No, it's not. This is
You said it was at USC.
This is UCLA, Arizona State.
You said it's at UCLA, though.
No.
You said it was in California.
No.
Where is the game?
At Arizona State.
It's at Arizona State.
Yeah, we were talking about Washington State, USC. This is the other game. UCLA, Arizona State.
UCLA, Arizona State.
Yes.
I'm going Arizona State. Sun Devils.
Okay, Arizona State is the pick. Jorgie?
Jerry, get your hearing aids fixed. I'll take ASU in this one just because I think the Sun Devils will be at home, number one, even without the crowd. Number two, they're just a better team. Number three, they're ready to play. They need to play some football. Even though they've kind of been in and out all season long, it's time to play this week and get after it.
I'm taking UCLA.
Ooh.
Mostly just because they've played more football, and Arizona State, they haven't. So I'm going to go with the experience here and take UCLA, mostly because as the coin flip is in the air and it comes back as heads for the home team in ASU, I'm going to take UCLA because I'm down by 3 and I think – or 2, and this is I'm running out of time. Meanwhile, Washington State and USC. This one is at USC. This is
the
at
one I was talking about.
All right.
Is this is this the game at the Rose Bowl? The UCLA?
Oh my gosh, Jorgie, get the hearing aids fixed, right? Isn't that what you said? Both sides. Let's go. I'm going USC.
All right.
Jerry's
USC.
going USC.
Jorgie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coin flip. Heads. USC. Okay, so everybody is consistently taking USC, Colorado, Washington, and Utah, except I'm going to go out on a limb and take UCLA and see if I can get one back and be tied with Jorgie. There you go. Good work, team. Way to go. That was like the least amount of headache I think we've ever generated during a North Fork Public House Picks.
Jerry is not here.
Way to go, team. Way to go, team.
He is. He is here.
Yeah, that's right. He is. We had permission today. Mike Jorgensen, hey, thanks for the time. Looking forward to being up there with you tomorrow. And, see what happens. Oregon and Cal coming up, 2 o'clock pregame show. Jorgie will be in the booth. I'll be in the booth. And, Scott Phillips will be listening from somewhere. That's what he does. Yeah. Thank you, Jorgie.
Okay, thanks. Sharon. No, I'm not hungry. Sharon.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Okay, guys, have a good day.
All right, Jorgie.
For those of you that don't know what that was, there was a show we were doing, a Great Ducks show, where we were doing all of that remotely, and Jerry's wife said, "Hey, dinner's ready," and we were still on the air. It was one of the funniest things that we have all ever seen, and it will forever live in Oregon Sports Network infamy. Up next, a man who probably still lives in Oregon Sports Network infamy, Todd McKim. We're going to talk with Todd. Bye, Georgie. We're going to talk with Todd McKim after this. Get the view from the other side on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports-watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager, Learning the Lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time, as in spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio, and it's my pleasure to welcome a guy that I'm still going to say is a Duck, even though now he's doing things on the Cal side. Todd McKim is joining us. Todd, how have things been? How are you, sir?
We're hanging in here by our fingernails down here at Cal in Berkeley, San Francisco, California, by our fingernails, Joey, but we look forward to the game on Saturday.
Okay, so go through that with us. You're hanging on by fingernails. We know what's gone on at Stanford, and they're now visiting the Pacific Northwest to play a couple of games. It's a little bit different, though, a few miles away in Berkeley, isn't it? At least for now?
At least for now, Joey. I mean, it's an hour-by-hour deal. I mean, you know, basketball, Stanford's still on the East Coast someplace. They don't know if they'll ever come back to California. Their football team's in Seattle. Then they stay in Oregon to play Oregon State. But so far, we're going to be able to play this week. It's just everything preceding this has been absolutely wacky, unpredictable, hard to deal with for our football team in so many ways. But at least the young men are getting an opportunity to play a couple of games. And I guess that's the most important thing for them is they're getting some opportunities.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Todd McKim joining us. So normally, Todd, I have to ask you, how do I introduce you now? Because you're usually like me roaming on the sidelines, but we've been joking that now it's not the Toyota sidelines, it's the Toyota concourse or anywhere Joey finds a spot to watch the game amongst the cardboard cutouts. So how are you introducing yourself these days on broadcasts?
Well, fortunately, I don't have to introduce myself, but we're doing our broadcast, Joey. I'm in the press box.
Okay.
So for road games, of which we've had 2, we use the home booth and then we use the TV booth because those guys aren't around, right? TV announcers, for the most part, are not around. So we've had a lot of room. We've got like 6 people, stats, spotter, a couple of engineers, myself, Mike Pulowski, and Joe Starkey, who does the play-by-play. For home games, we use our booth, but then we move one to the left, which is kind of the friends and family booth for Justin Wilcox. So when Dave Wilcox and Justin's mom come down, that's where they go. And the nice thing about that, Joey, and we just found this out this last game, that they have a refrigerator in there, okay? And so you got water, you got some soft drinks, and there were like 4 bottles of wine. So I mean, you know, and it was unlocked. Now, we didn't consume any, although quite frankly, the way that game ended, Joey, we could easily have consumed that wine in about 10 minutes, but we left it alone. It's still there, but that's kind of what we are doing. I'm up in the press box, helping the other guys out.
So you're very similar. Jerry has just started saying, yeah, Joey's just part of the broadcast. He does something. You know, I'm with you. Hey, you bring up though a couple. I have multiple follow-ups to that, as you can imagine.
I hope they're all wine related because I can talk about wine.
Well, they could be. I probably could do that with you. Hey, this Cal team, though, I mean, we've all read about the difficulties with practicing, what went on with a position group. I mean, can you catch fans up on how difficult and challenging it's been for this team to practice and to prepare for these games? Because, Todd, I got to say, I mean, the games that I've watched, all 3 of them now, it sure looks like this team is getting better and better every week, and it makes sense because now they're practicing, right?
They can actually – well, we still don't have a scout squad. We can only have 75 players on the field at any one time.
Got it.
So your developmental guys, maybe guys you're going to redshirt, maybe walk-ons, they go somewhere else while the regulars practice. So we've not had a scout team. That doesn't help. The first 2 weeks, we didn't have a defensive line, so we had to cancel the Washington game. Right. Okay, all those guys had to go in quarantine. So then we play UCLA with less than 48 hours of notice and don't have many of those guys available or have practiced, okay? Then the next 2 weeks, we had 3 offensive starters on the offensive line, COVID, starting tight end, COVID, the defensive end, COVID, and there's a good chance they'll be back for Saturday's game, but they've only practiced for 2 days.
Right.
So how good can they be? So all of that. And then you go back, we did have 4 spring practices. So they got 4 to install some new things with Bill Musgrave as the offensive coordinator, but then basically did nothing in the spring and the summer until they gathered October the 17th. So I would say, Joey, that Cal and Stanford, probably the furthest behind of all the teams in the league getting ready for this season. And I think it showed in the performances on the field.
I agree, and that's where, we've talked about it a lot on the show this week, Todd, that the run game for Cal has just gotten so much better week to week. And, it's like, oh, my God, they practiced. They got better. What do you know? They've played games. So I can only imagine the challenges that Coach Wilcox has faced. And, you mentioned Coach Musgrave. I mean, obviously there's a lot of Duck connections here. I think a lot of Oregon fans are probably rooting for Cal except for when they meet on Saturday. That's just kind of a cool connection for Oregon and Golden Bear fans, isn't it?
And it's been that way for a long time. I mean, you go back to, Tedford when he was here. I remember when I came down from Oregon and started working at Cal. So that was 2005 season. And there were like 15 people that at one point or another had been associated with the Ducks, either in the coaching staff or in administration or the managerial staff, whatever it happened to be. So it was like Oregon South. And so we still have some of that now with Bill Musgrave, Hall of Famer, back in 2000. Justin Wilcox was a starting defensive back. Peter Sermon was an all Pac-12, Pac-10, I guess, performer when he played as a linebacker. So there's a lot of that interconnecting still, maybe not as much as we used to have, but there's still the strong ties there, no question.
I'm curious, Todd, as we chat with Todd McKim, who will be on the broadcast on the Cal side of things, with Chase Garbers. I mean, I thought that Chase Garbers was really hitting his stride last year. I remember you and I talked about that when these two teams met last year. What's the report on Chase Garbers, and just how good can he be? Seems like he's ready to take that next step, or at least Golden Bear fans hope so.
He kind of peaked twice last year, Joey. He wasn't real good to start the season, and then when we played at Ole Miss, he was really good. Had 4 touchdown passes. The Bears went on the road in SEC country. And then the next week, he played Arizona State, and he broke his collarbone in the second quarter in a tie game. that eventually we lost and went on a 4-game losing streak without him in the lineup. Then he came back late in the year against Stanford, UCLA, and in the Red Box Bowl, and he was really good in those games. And so you thought, well, if he picks up where he left off last year, he's going to have a hell of a season.
Yeah.
Well, all the stuff that happened to him, and he couldn't throw to his receivers. There's no timing coming into camp. Even during camp, they can't go, or they haven't been able to go 11 on 11 very much. So I agree with you. He's kind of started slowly again and hoping to build some momentum, but he's got to do it against what I still think is a pretty good defense with Oregon. I think great talent. They just, for whatever the reason, have given up some yards and points. And so it'll be an interesting challenge this week for Chase and the offense.
Yeah, I'm curious that matchup, and especially the run game. I mentioned, I've been talking about this, like I said, that the run game's gotten better and better. What's the breakdown of the rushing attack in your eyes, Todd, and how good could it be moving forward?
Well, I'm not sure. If we get all of our regular offensive linemen back, it might be pretty good. But, I mean, we ran the ball for 267 against Stanford with, 3 new starters.
Right.
Which portends great things for future years. But then again, everybody's run the ball on Stanford this year. So you take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, a different test this week against Oregon. So Bill Musgrave wants to run more of a West Coast style offense. We have a fullback for the first time since, 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
We have tight ends now that we didn't utilize in the past. So it's a different look as far as the running game is concerned. You got a little bit more downhill stuff. We actually ran the toss sweep last week for the first time. We hadn't run that, since the Congress of Vienna and Talleyrand. So it's something new, and hopefully they get better and better as each and every week comes upon us.
I have to tell you, you just made Scott Phillips roll around on the floor. He rolled out of his chair.
He knows Talleyrand?
Apparently. He's giving me the thumbs
French
up.
1800s? Wow, good for Scott.
I should say, these guys worked together for, I don't know, how many years, Todd? How many years you guys worked together?
Well, we worked at competing stations for quite some time. I don't know, probably 7, 8, 10 years, something like that, I would guess, right?
And obviously, Todd won all the fights. Yeah, he said obviously. I just want you to know, Todd, if you couldn't hear him. He said obviously that you won all the fights. How about this defense? I mean, I look at the numbers, Todd, and it sure looks like Cal has continued some of the defensive, top-line play that we saw last year, but have regressed in certain spots. It's tough to replace Evan Weaver for sure. What's the breakdown of the defense this year?
Yeah, they kind of got gutted up the middle, Joey. Lost 2 safeties to the NFL, Ashton Davis with the Jets, Jalen Hawkins got his first sack of the year for the Atlanta Falcons. And, of course, the human vacuum there with Evan Weaver, who led the country in tackles. And then we lost our nose tackle from last year, Luke Beckett. When this thing all kind of came down during the course of the summer and the Pac-12 said we're probably not going to have football in August, he went into the transfer portal and has been an outstanding starter for Boston College this year. So we lost him. So kind of like a baseball team, your catcher, your middle infielders, and your center fielder are all gone. So replacing those guys has been a little challenging. They were better last week in a lot of phases, only gave up 300 yards to Stanford. But the one area where they have not been successful this year is taking the football away. Yeah. They have not created short field opportunities for the Cal offense. And so that's something they got to get better at somehow, some way.
It's almost like you broke down Oregon there a little bit. I mean, you talk about with the Ducks, they lose Troy Dye, a couple guys in the secondary that are heading to the NFL now. And what do you know? Oregon hasn't been able to take the ball away much either, and that's been a huge difference for this team. I see so many similarities between these two squads. It's fascinating. You touched on the guys that might be available, unavailable. What do you know? I mean, I get the feeling, Todd, and this is going to be what we're talking about all season long and all throughout basketball season. We don't know who the heck's going to be available until the ball gets kicked off.
Yeah, it's like you just spin the big dartboard and you throw darts and he can play, he can't play, hoping to have those 3 offensive linemen back and the tight end back. But again, limited practice reps. They have been able to come out of quarantine for like an hour a day and work on their own. So they've been able to hit each other, but nothing 11 on 11. They've been involved, obviously, in Zoom casts, trying to get what's the game plan. But, they haven't practiced for 2 weeks, and now you're going to give them 2 days of practice and to try to get ready for Oregon. So that's going to be challenging. And then the conditioning part of it. Can those guys play 60, 70 snaps? Who really knows?
Yeah, we'll find out. Todd McKim joining us. Finally, Todd, I just got to ask you keys to the game. Cal wins if?
Got to create turnovers and have to play error-free in special teams. It's been a nightmare the last 2 weeks. Blocked punt at Oregon State, enabled Oregon State to take the lead late. And then last week, blocked field goal, blocked PAT that would have tied the ball game with under a minute to play, muffed punt. You can't do those things to have any chance against this explosive Oregon offense.
I hate to bring it up. I said I was going to be the last thing, but it just occurred to me that I haven't asked you yet about the blocked PAT. I mean, just mentally, this team getting over that has to be tough, right?
It is tough because, as Justin Wilcox said, if you're a Division I football team, you should be able to execute an extra point. And the Bears didn't for whatever the reason. And so they've got to shore that up, because if you can't kick extra points, then you just got to start going for 2-pointers. And that's pretty problematic, unless, of course, you're Chip Kelly. He's pretty good at that.
Yeah, the old swinging gate. Never forget the old swinging gate. A lot of connections down to the California schools now, UCLA, Cal. It's like it's a pretty small world, this whole sports thing, right, Todd? I mean, everybody kind of overlaps with everybody at some point.
Yeah, and if you're in this business long enough, you see people at different schools all the time. It's kind of the fun part of doing this is, you have long ties with a lot of people, and now they're at different schools. So that's kind of the fun part of it, too. So you get to root for them until you play them, and then you got to root against them.
That's right. And that's, hey, Todd, I'm rooting for you today. Not rooting for you tomorrow, my friend.
I got you. I'm all the way with you on that one.
All right. Todd McKim, my best to Joe, to Mike, everybody on the Cal broadcast crew. Good luck down there, and thanks for everything, Todd. Looking forward to seeing you in person again, I hope sooner than later. Who knows, maybe on a basketball floor. We'll find out someday, I guess.
Maybe on a golf course the way we're going.
Yeah, I'll take it. Or at a winery.
Come on down. Yeah. We got beautiful weather. You can sit outside. Come to the Stone Street Winery down here in the Alexander Valley. Yeah. Scott's on board, isn't he?
Book it. Scott's cheering. He's very much ready for a trip. Hey, Todd, well, thank you again. Stay safe. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Looking forward to catching up with you again soon.
Always good to talk to you, Joey. Talk to you soon.
All right, quick time out here on the show. When we come back, we'll talk a little more football, a little basketball. We got everything going on today. All 3 sports in action in a 48-hour period. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Back Oregon Nugget Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. We've got basketball coming up. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, Terry Johns will have you covered with a 2 o'clock tip-off as Oregon begins its title defense of the Pac-12 on the women's basketball side of things, 2 o'clock against Colorado. And then we've got men's basketball tonight at 5:30 against Seton Hall. 5:30 pregame, 6 o'clock tip. Men's basketball on the road, a Fox Sports 1 broadcast there, and a 4 o'clock scheduled start time for Oregon and Cal. That means a 2 o'clock pregame show for us across the Oregon Sports Network tomorrow. A couple comments from Austin Fallio. He met with the media this week, said we're going to hear a little bit of what he had to say, and defending the run, going to be a big focus this week. Austin Fallio with the media.
Austin obviously coming off a tough loss, first mentally just as a senior, where you hadn't lost to those guys in your career. How have you approached it? How's the defensive line that has some veteran players? How have you guys responded this week?
We responded with the mentality that we're going to grow from this. Yeah, it was a tough loss. It hurt a lot, but we definitely matured a lot and we grew from it this week.
Austin, obviously you guys have some things to improve on defense. How do you do that in such a short amount of time with the season, only 2 games left in the regular season?
I mean, I think, taking it day by day, practice, we got Tuesday, Wednesday, those are our work days. And, just going play by play, what can I fix, the small details, what do I need to do to win my one-on-ones, things like that, just taking it day by day and play by play.
Austin, how difficult has this, just the start of the season, such high expectations for this defense, a lot of guys back on the defensive line, but some pretty disappointing results. How tough has that been just individually as a group? Just reflecting upon what's been kind of a tough start for you guys.
It's been tough, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to us. It's always going to come down to us, and we just got to fix the little details and the problems that occurred on Friday and get them fixed so we can be ready for Saturday.
That was good stuff from Austin Fallio. Just a couple of his comments and answering some questions with the media because, hey, he's a leader. Right? They know what needs to get fixed. And he went on to talk a little bit more about how getting off blocks is going to be a real key against this Cal offensive line that you just heard Todd McKim talk about. Might have 3 starters back on the offensive line, might not. And at the end of the day, we don't know who the heck's going to play tomorrow until the ball actually gets kicked off. That's just the way that things have been going. It's going to be a big game, though. I said heading into the season, when the third version of the schedule came out, I thought that this was the most difficult game on Oregon's schedule. Still could be the case for reasons that maybe weren't the same that I was thinking at the beginning of the year, but because Oregon's got to bounce back. Got to stop the run, slow down Chase Garbers, and I think Oregon needs to run the ball well. I think Oregon needs to establish that run game against a little bit of a depleted defensive line. Thanks, Jorgie, for joining us today. Basketball this afternoon and tonight. We'll talk to you for a 2 o'clock pregame show on Saturday. See you then.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org because when it comes to